Hello, I'm David Rothenberg, hosting this podcast, the Reentry Reality Check of the Fortune Society, a nonprofit organization which advocates for the formerly incarcerated and for men and women still in prison. We also provide multiple services for the thousands who walk through our doors each year. Thank you for joining us.
Hold my head high as I travel along this road. Help me always to speak kind.
We're joined today by Rahsaan Thomas, who I met 110 years ago, but more recently was released from San Quentin prison, carrying with him something he started inside, which was the San Quentin Film Festival. So I don't think there's any history of a film festival starting behind bars. What's the origin of the San Quentin Film Festival inside, and how were you able to bring it out?
Yeah, I mean, when I was inside, it really just started from wanting to make films. I saw a lot of filmmakers come into the prison and leave with award-winning stories. And I was like, man, can we make our own stories? And the public information officer at the time, Lieutenant Sam Robinson, he said yes. He would give us the same access. And so my desire was just to be in a film festival.
Well, was your intent to make movies or show
Make movies. In fact, we made What These Walls Won't Hold, half inside, half outside, with Adamu Chan, the director who paroled. And then I directed and produced Friendly Signs from prison, both of these award-winning films. But in the course of doing all that, there was a conversation with a playwright, Corey Thomas, who was a volunteer at the prison, and a guy named Leonard Brown. And out of that conversation came the idea to have a film festival. And Corey walked over to me. I was just like maybe 20 feet away. And she said, can we have a film festival here? And I was like, yeah. At this time, I had done live shows at San Quentin.
You make it sound so casual. We have trouble trying to get into prison just to talk to somebody. You're in San Quentin, and you said, we're going to have a film festival.
So San Quentin's different. The kind of the administration is different. They more especially ideas that are led by system impacted people. Their basic motto is: will it do good? Will it improve the mission of public safety and rehabilitation? And are there any security risks? And if you can show that it's rehabilitative,
where did they get that strange notion?
It makes sense to me, and it makes sense to them. And so you know, I knew the process of doing a proposal. I know what they're looking for. Is it going to be rehabilitative? Is it going to lead to public safety? And are there any, say, security concerns? And if you can address those issues, they usually say yes. Especially since, like, you have to go have a volunteer go raise the money for it. You know, you do the work, and give them the narrative, and they just take care of the security custody parts. And so you're doing a lot of work for them.
You apparently had a lot of people from the outside coming in that you could use as resources, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, there's always filmmakers coming in, people coming in. I met so many celebrities, so many major people at San Quentin. I met more people at San Quentin than I do in society.
When we wanted to bring a filmmaker into one of the prisons here, you can't imagine the efforts that we have to go through, the procedure to get someone to come in who's making a film. Not necessarily about the prison, but about one of the people coming in, or about one. Anyway, let's go back to the. I'm just amazed at the ease in which you describe, or the common sense of the San Quentin administration.
It didn't turn out to be that easy though. At first they were hesitant, but then they did say yes. So we got a yes, and then COVID hit, and so we're on pause. And then COVID kept hitting, unhitting, different waves of it. The vaccine came, but they were still really sensitive that if somebody got...
a lot of men hit with COVID at your
Yeah. Almost all of us, like 2,500 of us got COVID. And I believe 29 people died, including a sergeant at San Quentin from COVID. So it was horrible. When the vaccine came, the deaths stopped, the hospitalization stopped, but we kept testing positive, and they didn't know how to handle that, so they would lock us down again every time somebody tested positive, or enough people tested positive in the same cell block area. Your cell block would get locked down. And so it's hard to navigate that. And then Lieutenant Sam Robinson became a captain, and then he retired. And so we had to get a new yes from the next public information officer, which was Lieutenant Berry. And she was hesitant at first, but we eventually got a yes. But by the time we got this yes, I had paroled. February 8th, 2023.
Had the film festival begun while you were inside?
No, all we did was a lot of planning. We structured it. one of the major issues were we wanted to start it with just the guys at San Quentin.
So when you got out, which was what we're 2024,
February 8th, 2023.
you know the day and the time, and so you carried that dream with you.
Yeah.
And what does it entail? Where do you get the movies from? Who sees them? And
Yeah, when the idea started, it was just going to be a showcase for the films made at San Quentin. San Quentin has a robust media center. And like I said, I made Friendly Signs there, and I was able to send footage home to be produced.
well, that's unheard of here. You made the movies.
Yeah, we're making our own films. And the guys that behind me make even better films. They got even better at it. They're making amazing work.
But when you started the film festival, are you open to people who are making movies about criminal justice?
Yeah, so when it started, the original idea was it would just be the guys inside. We would just be showcasing their films. But the guys inside said, no, that's not a real film festival. We want the smoke. We want to challenge outside filmmakers. We want to challenge the guys that went home.
Well, would a movie like Sing Sing be shown even though it had a...
It was shown.
It's part of the film festival?
Yeah, last year it was shown as well, by then it's already had a distribution.
All right, so now I
but
have
we
a
showed
clear-
it as a closing night film, I believe. And then this year, the Sing Sing Chronicles, JJ, he won. He won Best Feature. And so our categories are Best Short Film, Narrative, and Best Short Film Documentary. And then Best Feature Film About Us, Judged by Us. So that's open to everybody.
So it's clarified for me when you tell me that Sing Sing shown, which I think is a powerful movie, beautifully acted. And so it's shown now just to the men in Sing Sing. I'm sorry,
at
in San Quentin.
So the film festival happens inside San Quentin in Chapel B.
And
you bring in the
film-
projector
and people on. It's not shown in the San Francisco area at all.
No, not as part of the film
So
festival.
civilians to see
But
it.
we have an online component where the films are shown online to everybody.
And do
Once the-
people from around the country then look at it?
We haven't done that good on the online festival. We got to figure out the marketing strategy. I don't understand this online stuff.
Well, you're in your early stages, but you did hint to me that it might be going into other prisons.
Yeah, Walla Walla in Washington. The next one is March 28th at Chowchilla, the largest women's facility, I believe, in the world,
In what state is that?
in California. It's
So is it-
California's central facility for women.
There is
Institution
something
for
called the East Coast. Have you ventured to this area?
Yes and no. The Marshall Project had the Sing Sing Film Festival, and I came in to be a guest speaker and support that. I showed a film there, so I was definitely supportive of that. But Marshall Project led the charge on the Sing Sing Film Festival.
Okay. Well, besides that, while you were inside, you were the sports editor of the San Quentin.
Yes.
You made a movie that what I saw called 26-2.
I was in the movie. I was a
You-
music supervisor as well.
Yes.
I was in the movie mostly.
I went to see it because you were in it. It was playing at a local theater here. And it was, tell us about that movie and how it came about.
So there was this lady, a producer named Christine Yu. She
Yeah.
came to the yard looking to meet the 1,000-mile running club. She had read about it, I believe, in GQ
You had a
magazine.
running club.
We have a running club where volunteers from the street come in and train us how to run, how to get to the point where you can run a marathon. And these are like ultra runners, like people that were made the Olympic trials and run 100-mile races. They're amazing. Dipsy set winners, Dipsy race winners. I mean, they're champions. And so they come in and they donate their time. And so I was part of this club. And one day Christine Yu and another guy came in and they were looking to do a narrative film and just wanted to get a feel what the club was like. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, I'm a writer. I want to help them write this thing. Like, I know all the characters. I know everybody in the running club. And y'all don't have access. Y'all can't be here all day, every day writing and interviewing people. I can. But they didn't accept my pitch. And when they told me what kind of characters they were looking for, it sounded like Markel Taylor, the Gazelle
But you were
Taylor.
one of the people they did select.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. So
But you-
I tried to be a writer. They seemed like unreceptive to that. I introduced them to the type of character they were looking for, and I walked away thinking I wouldn't be part of it.
Were you running
And when
the-
they came back to do interviews, I was on their list to be interviewed. And I'm like, what? Me? The next thing you know, I'm a main character.
And you're a movie star. So
Yeah, for coming in last.
were you
It's crazy.
all running? The movie's 26-2, which is what the distance of the New York Marathon. Were you all running that, or did you start doing that when the movie was being made?
Up until that moment, the movie, when we were being filmed, when they were filming the marathon live, The most I ran was 3 half marathons.
13 miles.
Yeah, 13.1.
So,
that doubled my distance that day.
But they filmed the 26. You did it all in one day, obviously.
Yeah, they filmed it live.
And then they cut in for interviews because I saw you standing in your cell, which upset me very much because your cell looked very small and you're very big, and but you were in the movie.
Yeah, and so they did the interviews over the course of about a year and a half, and just interspersed them with the actual marathon. But yeah, they went to interview my family in New York. My brother's in it. My mom's in it.
And then there's the podcast. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I got lucky. Earline Woods.
What's it called?
Ear Hustle is the name of the podcast.
Ear Hustle.
And it was started by Nigel Poor, Earline Woods, and Antoine Williams.
In San Quentin.
In San Quentin. And Earline Woods was getting a commutation, and he knew he was getting his commutation. He knew he was going home, and so they started looking for a replacement. And I interviewed for the job, and I got it. And it was crazy, too, because other people interviewed, and they told me that I didn't make it as a co-host. I would be a producer. I was like, that's fine. I just want to learn the story structure. You guys are very popular. You're doing better than anybody else around in this field. And so I want to learn your magic. And then they were lying. They just wanted to see if I was about myself.
Was it just for the inmate population?
It was just for the, so I say incarcerated people. I never say inmate. But it was for the world.
I have to be corrected over and over again because I'm older than water.
Yeah, it was for the world. It was made inside the prison.
How did it get out to the world, though?
So when Nigel started creating the podcast and Earline and them, it was meant to just be for the institutional channel that plays throughout the California prison system. So it's just for us.
What year are you talking about?
I think it was 2017-ish. 2017.
And then one year I read in the
and
paper
then hold on, and then there was a announcement by Radiotopia for a podcast called PodQuest. It was a contest, and Nigel asked, then again, Lieutenant Sam Robinson, could she submit the podcast samples that she had for this contest? And he said, yeah, thinking that, you're never gonna win.
That was for civilian contest.
Yeah, and so Nigel submitted, and we were top 10. And when we were top 10, I was like, okay. Then at that point, Lieutenant Sam Robinson had to tell Sacramento that he said yes, because they didn't know, because he didn't think it would go this far. And then the next thing you know, it was top 4.
And what's on the podcast?
What's on the podcast?
Yeah,
what do you mean?
I mean, you're interviewing people, other men that are in the...
It's just stories about life inside at that time. And then when Earline went home, it became stories about life inside and life on parole. And so we made top 4. And when they made top 4, I was like, oh, there is no such thing as top 4. It's top 5 or top 3. So I thought we were a token add-on, and it was going to be bullcrap. We just like a novelty item. And next thing you know, they won. They won, and then...
we won.
At that point, I wasn't part of it. So I came part of it also season 3, the end of season 3, but officially season 4, I started co-hosting.
And what year was it that it was the runner-up in the Pulitzer Prize?
2020, my first season hosting. Won the Pulitzer Prize. We won it in 2020, so that was really special.
And what I find so interesting is that you were doing the podcast from inside, and this is a podcast for the formerly incarcerated, and we're struggling to get it sent to the inside. I mean, it's a big deal to get New York prisons to agree to get us inside. We're trying. Hopefully this will be heard inside. Right now it's heard only by civilians.
I think some of the struggles you're going through in New York is the shorter staff is one of the main roadblocks that they have. Having the National Guard in prison.
That's one of the excuses.
Even now, the National Guard is, I believe, gone, but I tried to go visit somebody, and they used to be weekday visits.
I don't know how much staff you need to put a podcast in a slot, a tape in a slot.
The relationships aren't there. So with us, right, it's a lot of trust. The CO's like way in the front somewhere, and we're in the back room, and they just give us this leeway where it's a lot of trust. We kind of police ourselves. But in order to have that happen, there has to be relationships that don't require telling anybody. That could be mutual, respectful relationships between staff and incarcerated people. And the DOC in New York has to get out the mindset that this tough stuff keeps you safe. It doesn't. Great relationships keep you safe.
You're describing an institution in which they have given a green light for men to be creative, making movies, doing a podcast, doing a newspaper, and doing a film festival.
Yeah, and I imagine they get a lot of...
I'm in a state where just people on the outside doing that is a challenge, and it's a mindset that's real.
But one thing I would say is that I imagine San Quentin gets a lot of flack for being so open to providing these amazing opportunities that people say they might not deserve. But one thing I'll say for sure, out of that media center, I was there 10 years. I've seen about 50, 60 people parole. Our recidivism rate is 1. Only one person in that media center has gone back to prison. And I currently work with a bunch of formerly incarcerated filmmakers, and we're doing great. You got like Uncuffed, the podcast. They train people inside how to be podcasters, and they hire them when they get out. Ear Hustle hires us when we get out. This leads to these amazing opportunities.
Your point about low recidivist rate, you see in New York, one of the lowest recidivist rates was for men who took the college courses.
Yes.
And then they eliminated the college courses. And then there was a program called the Diagnostic and Treatment Center, which had a practically 0 recidivist rate. And that was eliminated. They're talking about mindsets. But I want to talk about when.
So I think we have to point that out stronger to the public.
Well, that's what we do.
And get people to stop investing in what doesn't work and invest in what does work, because somebody sounds like they're making the decision for their best interest and not society's.
Well, it's the entrenched system. But I want to discuss. You had referred to the people who are coming out and doing so well, the low recidivist rate. You were commuted by the governor after what was a parole hearing. The parole board has to first...
but because I had a prior felony, the governor couldn't just give me a commutation on his own. He had to have it vetted by the parole board, and so that they had an in-bank hearing for the parole board to vote on and decide.
And this was all online.
Yes.
And I received a
COVID
call
year.
because I had known you. We'll get to that, how I knew you in the past. And so I went into the Zoom, and I was told that about 150 people applied to be on your Zoom, but only 30. It was like an elimination. And I was one of the 30 that was on, and it was an extraordinary cross-section of people. There was that man from CNN who met you when he went
Kamal
in.
Bell.
When he went in.
Kamal Bell.
There was the general manager of the New York Jersey Nets.
One of my favorite people, Peter Stern.
But the thing that impressed me the most was there were about 5 or 6 guys who had done time with you who were out, and they wanted to be on and speak for you, saying what an influence that you had had on their lives, getting involved with all these activities with you, and what they were doing well, and that this was their give back to you to guide. That was extraordinary, and it demonstrated that positive programs inside can be a contributing factor not only for the people's lives but for street safety.
Yeah.
Now, I want to discuss the newspaper because we had known each other. You're now, what, 90 years old? How old are you now?
I am 55 years old.
And I met you when you were 20.
Yep.
And you were living in Brooklyn at the time, and you came to the Fortune.
Queens. I was living in Queens at the time. I'm from Brooklyn, though. I was living in Queens at the time.
Queens. Whatever. And so I got a call from Joanne Page and Sam Rivera saying that there was this kid, and they thought he had a lot going for him. And I met you, and you worked with me, and then you worked with Carol Levine, and before you went to California and got into difficulty again. And so we had a great investment in who you were, because you worked so well, and we liked you, and you were part of our lives, and then gone and back in the prison system. And I lost touch with you. And one day I was at the Fortune Society. I was given a copy of the San Quentin News, and I read it. And I said, boy, this is a real newspaper. This is good, because I get newspapers from all over. And I wrote a letter to the editor and said, how do I get... First, I wrote, you guys should be very proud of yourself. This is a real pro job, and I would love to subscribe. Tell me how to do it. And a week later, I get a call back, and you wrote that you saw the Fortune Society letterhead and said, give me that letter. And you realized it was me, and and that was maybe a dozen years ago, and that started a rather lengthy correspondence in which we filled each other in on our lives.
Yeah, it's surprising, too, because I normally don't have anything to do with the incoming mail. It's just the guy who does was sitting next to me that day, and I just happened to see the envelope,
There are
Fortune
no accidents,
Society.
Rahsaan.
Yeah. I saw that envelope, Fortune Society. I said, wait a minute. And I saw your name written in pen on top of the Fortune Society logo. I was like, what? David Rothenberg? Give me that.
And so the little boy I knew from, well, not one a little boy, but you were a very young man when I knew you, was now a textured, incarcerated person who was doing miracle things.
I also remember I was working at your office, David Rothenberg Associates, the press agent. You were a press agent. Terrence would always be like, yeah, you should get into writing. You should get into writing, ironically.
And you were working with me part-time, and then Carol Levine, who had an ad agency adjacent to my office. And you went in, you started, I guess, as a go for running for coffee, but she saw something in you. We all saw something in you. You were almost managing the office, and you had a pretty big, active advertising agency. I remember writing to you when you were at San Quentin. You had told me that a play was coming in, and I said, or that you were doing a play, and I said I suspected you had seen more plays than everybody else in San Quentin put together, because you were a regular theater goer, as we all were when we worked in the theater back. I guess that was in the early 90s.
90s, yeah. Yeah, I saw a lot of plays, man. More and prior to working with you guys, I never saw a play before. And so that my theater experience started there. Tony Tina's Wedding, Blue Man Group, How to Succeed in Business, Ruthless, One Neck. I just remember so many plays. Yeah, so many really good plays. And some bad ones. We get to see them before they come out. And some bad ones.
Yes, we
got to write everything.
But your time in prison is almost an example of, what is it that guy said, make the time work for you? Mm-hmm. And where did you get that mindset from? Because you really rerouted your life.
My mom doesn't accept excuses, and I don't accept excuses either. And so I always was really critical of my father, who was formerly incarcerated and just was never around. I don't have a few memories of actually seeing him in person. And next thing you know, here I am with 2 kids and a double life sentence. And I didn't want that to be an excuse of why I wasn't a good father to my children. And so I just refused to give up and buy into the narrative that my life is over with, that there's nothing I could do but mop floors and get face tattoos. I felt like I could be a writer, I can make the New York Times bestseller list, maybe I can contribute to my family with income, but at the very least I can give them a reason to be proud of me, then bury that mugshot with good deeds. And so I embarked on that journey, and it wasn't no easy road. It took 10 years before I wrote a word that anybody heard.
Are you writing a book now?
Yeah, I am working on my memoir. I'm actually rewriting it, because my
What's
first...
it called? I would call it Rahsaan.
I call it Square right now, but it's a working title. Square.
Carol Levine here's the woman that ran the ad agency, and our correspondence. You made it clear that she had a great influence on your life.
Definitely.
How so?
Gave me humanity, made me feel sane. It was a struggle being on work release. I was doing really good on work release the first year.
When you met us,
I was on work release.
I
wasn't even on parole yet. I was on work release when
but it wasn't an issue either for Carol or me. It was
no problem. But what made it really hard is, after doing a year on work release, I went to the parole board, and they said I was a menace to society, and they said they was going to send me back to prison. They hit me with 24 months, a 24-month denial. And they're going to send me back to prison.
Why did I never know that? Was that
you did know that, because
did.
You and the whole theater community wrote all these letters, and it got me out.
See what I don't remember?
It got me out. It was crazy because the system didn't want to admit it was wrong. Because, how can you say I'm a menace to society? I have 2 jobs. I'm in society every day. There's no threats. Nobody's calling the prison. There's no new crimes. What are you talking about? It was the most outrageous, dumbest parole board decision I've ever seen. And so...
you also consumed in your work. I mean, when working for Carol and me, when you're working on shows, you don't just work 9 to 5. There's night work and
I needed extra money, so I worked for Blue Man Group too. I was the T-shirt man. I was doing their marketing promotions, aka selling their T-shirts and their mugs. And so I was working, I was thriving, and to get that 24-month denial was hard. Well, see, and then when they let me back out, it's because 50 letters from the theater community came, and they realized they made a mistake. But they didn't rescind the parole board denial. They just allowed me to stay on work release. And that was torture to me because it started me over on my work release status. It means I had to be in prison every day except weekends. And, where before because I was at the end of my work release with a year with 6
Where
months.
were you living then?
I was living in Queens. With 6 months to the parole board, they allow you to be outside the prison system every day, and you just have to check in with your parole officer once a week at the facility. But when you have 24 months left on work release, you
What
have to be at the
facility?
Queensboro, right here, right
Oh,
over
yeah,
here.
I know Queens.
You have to be in there every day pretty much except the weekends. And so it was like being back in prison. It was just really hard for me, and Carol's one of the people that kept me sane. It ended up, once my brother, it's just an avalanche of things. I remember like the theater business started going bad for whatever reason, and there was layoffs. Carol had to lay me off. I lost my car, my job, my apartment all at the same time. My brother got locked back up. It was just too much happened,
And you were young.
and I ended up reverting back. But Carol kept me sane and kept some goodness in me during a critical time when I was ready to go crazy.
But you see, your description of while you were working full-time and the system here wanted to lock you up sounds like it was very different than what you were describing at San Quentin, where there seemed to be an encouragement of your creative process, where here they didn't, it didn't seem like you were being seen as a person, but as a crime.
Yeah, the weird thing about the work release denial, now that I have more information, there was a group I was supposed to take when I was incarcerated in New York, but the group wasn't available to me. It was a 5-year waiting list. I only had a 3-year bid, right? So there's no way I was going to take that group, and so they denied me for that and considered me a menace to society because I didn't check this box.
Well, between Carol and me, you had an equivalent to a group, I think.
Yeah, no, Carol recommended I take a turn of violence on the street, and I did. But I don't know what that parole board was tripping on. It just didn't make sense. It was just hard to do everything right and still get the wrong results.
So you got out 2 years ago, and you've opted to stay. Are you on parole now in California?
I got off in February of 2025.
But you've
I just got
opted to
off.
live in California. You're in Oakland.
Yeah, my career's out there.
And you created your career though while incarcerated in San Quentin.
Yeah, I created something called Empowerment Avenue that I'm really proud of.
Tell us what that is.
Empowerment Avenue helps incarcerated writers, artists, and filmmakers practice their craft, get their voices on major platforms from prison. So we got people in the New York Times at least 8 times. We got an artist going to SF MoMA 2026 July.
How does this work? Does somebody write you from?
Yeah, we recruit because we can't. Our program is small. It's 7 of us doing this. We have like 50 people in the program right now.
When you say you go back into the prison?
No, so we look for the different ways. It started with the guys around me in San Quentin, but we look for the best of the best to represent the rest. Because if you're a really good orator and we get you published, your story resonates, it gets the laws changed for everybody. It makes things better for everybody.
But how do you find people?
With different ways, right? People get recommended to us. We might spot you in a Marshall Project, some other way you might get published on your own, and we spot that. Then we might say, hey, or PJP is a partner now, Prison Journalism Project. We might ask them, do you have any great writers that you know of that you can recommend that are really good at journalism or whatever? And so we take recommendations, we scout. It's mostly a combination of recommendations and scouting.
And it's all on writing?
No, we have writing, visual artists, and then we just launched Empowerment Avenue Films, with Corey Devon Arthur being one of the first to direct the film from prison.
When you say visual arts, what does that entail?
Paintings on canvas, on paper, whatever, drawings.
Well, I have to show you some pictures here of Guy Woodard's.
Okay.
He came here in New York State. They wouldn't let him paint, and what he did is they wouldn't let him have
canvas,
anything, and he did it all with ballpoint pens. And his work was so extraordinary, he ended up having exhibits here in major galleries.
That's what's up.
And it's now in museums. But the point was that the system did not encourage it. They made it difficult. They stopped the New York. They used to have something called the Prison Art Show for New York prisoners, and it was stopped because one of the men who was painting was visible up in Albany, had a highly visible crime, and some political people said, why should he be showing, And so instead of saying, why are they allowing this man, they just eliminated the whole art show. And I don't know why somebody's crime should determine that they can't paint, because
They have we go through it in San Quentin too, but we just get away with it more. We got more leeway. There is a lot of concerns about prison creating celebrity. Like, how can you like have this great life and become a celebrity, and the person you kill somebody, and they never get to do anything again? And I just think that I understand that. Like, I can understand a victim's frustration with seeing somebody looking like they're thriving when they experienced so much loss. But the other side of that is that you don't pay your debt to society sitting in a cell. When you sit in a cell in California, at the time I was there last, it was $108,000 a year. I was incarcerated 22 years. That means society spent 2-point-something million to keep me in prison, right? That's not me paying my debt to society. That's society paying to keep me in a box. Nobody benefits from that. And people talk about tough on crime. We got to be tough on crime. The streets have the death penalty, David. If tough on crime worked, there'd be no criminals.
Well, politically, tough on crime works. What I've always advocated is
who does it work for?
Smart on crime would be much better.
But so let me just finish my train of thought. So I would say that allowing me to make the world smile, allowing me to help the world understand the root cause of crime and how to really address it, how to really stop it, I think that's a better way to pay my debt. And I think it's a service to society. So I wouldn't think, and for me personally, I'm driven by remorse. It's remorse that makes me go so hard to do all this positive stuff. It's the glue, so it's not in vain. And so I would just ask people to, like I always say, do you want revenge or do you want a solution?
Driven by remorse is very, very heavy. I don't think the public understands. Well, maybe some in the public do. I don't. But
I think it's hard to understand that a conversation would work better than bullets, you know what I mean? Or a gavel or prison time.
But
they don't understand the power of therapy.
But you know that, Rahsaan, that every time there's a political campaign, there's always a guy standing in front of a courthouse, and you hear. And the argument is we got to get tough on crime. Mm-hmm. They never say we have to be smart or look for solutions. It's so much easier politically to say I'm getting tough, as if that is an answer. But what you just said, that you're driven by remorse, you're motivated by remorse.
And that's tough, I was made through. David, I grew up on tough. My mom was no joke. She embodied the prison system in a way, right? Yeah. If you do something bad, you can't go to yard. You can't go outside. You can't use your electronics, right? The same punishment they have in prisons. She'll go further though. She would do the old black mother thing. You'll get a whooping. You know what I mean? She had corporal punishment, right? None of that worked. That just made me harder, made me madder. You know, none of that works. It's just really dumb to think that it ever would. And the other myth, though, people think that if you're in prison, you're incapacitated. You're no longer a threat to society. That is bullcrap, right? It's bullcrap for a lot of reasons. Number one, you have gangs that are so powerful, they control the streets from prison. But that's another story. But even if you never get out, if you're not trying to be healed, because even in California, they don't invest a lot in healing the people when they first get to prison. They wait till you get closer to going home, or you prove yourself, like you chill out on your own enough to get to a lower level prison. But I think healing needs to start the day you get there, because you want a safe environment. Because if it's not a safe environment, then sending trauma is a root cause of crime. If I traumatize everybody who is getting out, including the staff, then I'm sending crime home from prison without ever getting out, right? And so that's why guards have high divorce rates, high suicide rates, high domestic violence rates, like all these high rates, right? Because they're being re-traumatized in those environments, and that trauma is spreading like a almost like a soul, like a demon jumping from body to body, right? And so if we don't nip that trauma in the bud, if we don't start that healing as soon as possible, you're not incapacitating anything. Then not only that, if you don't deal with the root cause of crime, then the only thing that changes is the name of the gangbanger. You don't stop gangbanging by taking the leader to jail. You create a vacuum where there's a war to decide who the new leader is, and it spreads. It gets bigger somehow, right? So you don't stop anything. You just remove that name, and the name changes, but the culture of violence doesn't change. It gets worse.
No, well, your use of the word healing is so important, because that's not been an indigenous part of the prison system. And one of the most hopeful things I've seen in recent years is the alternative to incarceration programs where people are dealt with in the community rather than inside. And it's easier to impose healing without all those ingredients that are in a prison system that you have, which you just described, that you have to constantly be prepared for. But you had a mindset, obviously, that you were not going to let the prison system undo you.
Yeah, it was hard, but I just was determined not to lose, that I needed my sons to be proud of me and not feel a way about me the way I feel about my father.
Heavy. Rahsaan Thomas, if people want to contact the film festival, the San Quentin Film Festival, can civilians get it online in the future?
Yeah, follow us, San Quentin FF on Instagram, or give me an email, Rahsaan, Rahsaan, at sanquentinfilmfestival.com.
Rahsaan Thomas, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, David. Pleasure.
Give me one more chance to try and make it right. Give me one more go. Let me see the light.
Thanks very much for joining this podcast. I'm your host, David Rothenberg. If you need more information, or if you'd like more information about the Fortune Society, check out our website. It's quite simply fortunesociety.org. A lot of information on it, as well as all of our podcasts.
Give me one more poem. Let me speak straight from my heart. I wanna go home.